It's a special way to capture the magic of Christmas. Retired Provo City Library Director Jean Nelson is here to share 12 books to read with the family leading up to the big day. It's so great to see you.
Great to see you, Brooke.
I was just telling Jean, I collect books, and my Christmas stash is, I have to say, humbly quite impressive. We wrap them up, and then I wrap them after Christmas and open them up.
Even
right?
the older copies.
Yes. Yeah, it's new. We have tons wrapped.
That's a great idea.
Unwrap every day, but I only have 3 of the 12 is my point in saying that.
Okay.
So you're going to open our eyes to some new titles to
Excellent.
add to our libraries. And Christmas children's literature, there's nothing better.
Oh, there's so many wonderful books. Every year, some great new ones come out.
Let's start with the 12 Days of Christmas. You're going with a classic.
Yeah, we're kind of doing the 12 Days of Christmas here with the 12 books. And this is Jan Brett's The 12 Days of Christmas. She's kind of the queen of Christmas.
Yes, she is.
With a number of Christmas books, The Mitten and others. And this is the board book version of the picture book that came out a number of years ago. For those littler hands.
Yes.
And of course you can sing along with the 12 Days of Christmas song.
You got it. You can read and sing
Oh,
all at the same time. Tell me about the Night of Las Posadas.
Night of Las Posadas, this is Tommy De Pala, just one of our great illustrators and writers of children's literature. He just passed away last year.
Oh.
And Night of Las Posadas comes from Spain via Mexico, then all the way to a lot of them in New Mexico and Texas. It's a story of the journey of Mary and Joseph to the manger. And in this telling of the story, the whole community gets around this for 9 days. And Posadas means inn, and so it's the night of the inn. And of course, then they're knocking on the doors for 8 days, but nobody will let them in because there's no room in the inn. And the devil will come out, and everybody boos and hisses the devils on each of these 8. And on the 9th day, the doors open and everybody goes in for Christmas cookies to celebrate the birth of Christ.
Oh, I love that. What a lively story.
Wonderful book.
We'll cruise through a couple of these. One Winter's Night by John Herman, Major List. Dasher by Matt Tavares. I have that one,
That's
actually.
a great one.
That's one I have, the illustrations.
Different story of the kind of the Rudolph story with the reindeer.
Right. And Nutcracker, a version of the Nutcracker, of course, had to make your list.
Absolutely.
Tell me about Merry Christmas, Big Hungry Bear.
Oh, Merry Christmas. This is Don and Audrey Wood. They did the great Napping House story.
Oh, yeah.
And others. They've been around for years. And in this story, we have this big hungry bear. It is winter time.
Yeah.
And he's hungry. And so it's the story of this little mouse who just wants to make this big hungry bear's day on Christmas Day and make sure that he has a big gift for it as well. Beautiful illustrations.
Oh, it looks so happy.
Been around
bright.
for a number of years.
And I can see a similarity from the illustrations to the Napping House once you made that connection for us. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We can't have a list without that title.
You have to have that every year. It's just a fantastic thing. A couple of years ago, our church did our Christmas program around the theme of Grinch, and everybody was dressed in Grinch costumes.
Oh, how fun.
And it still has a very timely story that hasn't lost a thing over the years.
Well, and the rhyming cadence never gets old
wonderful.
with young
Zeus,
kids.
you can't beat him.
Yeah, when they're filling in the words, that's a fun read-along experience.
Oh, and little Cindy Lou Who and, all the rest of the group.
Yeah, my daughter played her last year at her Grinch.
With the
Oh, we went all out. Cup in the middle of the head, hair wrapped around the cup. We went all out. So she's become a loved character for more than one reason. Polar Express, another classic. And when I see the cover, I just smile.
Oh, Caldecott award-winning book by Chris Van Allsburg. And, he really took a gamble in, you look at all these other covers, bright reds and bright greens.
Yeah.
And Polar Express is very somber. And has a lot of soft pastel look to it. And yet, boy, does he get across a wonderful perspective of Christmas with that silver bell and the train and everything. It's just a beautiful story.
I don't want to say, well, I was almost let down when the movie came out, only because you want people to experience the book first. Always, so.
Let your imagination come up with the pictures.
Create those characters, which I have to say, my imagination played it out differently than I saw in the movie.
Mine too.
So that was the letdown for me. Amazing Christmas Extravaganza by David Shannon.
David Shannon's book down in the corner. Been around for a while. I think it's been forgotten about. It's kind of the Clark Griswold story during Christmas Vacation, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And neighbors kind of competing against neighbors for the best and most extravagant outdoor lighting and everything else that goes with it.
Tell us about Christmas in the Trenches.
Oh, maybe my favorite book here. This is John McCutcheon. He's a storyteller.
Okay.
A famous storyteller nationally. And I first heard this story years ago at the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival down in Utah County. And this is the story of a World War I story that we have the Germans on one side and we have the English on the other. And on this Christmas Eve night, this is a true story, a white flag was raised by the Germans. And man came out with this white flag to stop the fighting. And then an Englishman comes out. I get kind of teary-eyed with this.
Yeah.
Englishman comes out with a little tree. Oh. And the Germans and the English soldiers meet on this battlefield between the trenches. They play a soccer game, they exchange chocolates, and showing pictures of their families. They got to know each other.
I can see why that's a favorite of yours.
And then they have to end it, and they go back to their respective lines, wondering who might just be in their gun sights. It's just a heart-touching story. Beautiful, beautiful story.
Yes.
Highly recommend it.
Christmas Carol has to have a place on a list.
It certainly does. There's a number of versions out there, much like Nutcracker. There's a lot of different versions, just depending on your perspective.
But that's one of your favorites?
What kind of artist. That's Brett Helquist. As a matter of fact, he's a graduate of the BYU art program.
How about that?
Many years ago.
Let's wrap it up with The Night Before Christmas.
And of course, we have versions upon versions. You probably have a whole bunch of them.
I have a couple.
We do. And every year there's a new one. This is Lauren Long, a favorite illustrator. And of course, it has all that wonderful cadence of Clement Moore and the story and everything else.
Oh, I love this. Thank you.
Oh, very welcome. Wait a second.
Oh, what?
I ran into Santa last night.
Oh, you did not.
I did. And he said, hey, you're going to be seeing my friend Brooke.
What?
Make sure
First
that you
gift of the season?
take a new book to her.
I?
Oh, absolutely.
May I share? Oh my gosh, Jean, you're the best. You know how much, Jean and I nerd out over, what? A Very Mercy Christmas.
You don't know this one.
I do not know this one.
A new Kate DiCamillo book, multiple award winner. So Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you very much.
From me and Santa.
We will read and treasure this. Tell Santa thank you as well,
You're
Jean.
welcome.
And we'll post this list, this 12 countdown list on our website, studio5.ksl.com. Merry Christmas, friend.